Welcome to the deep dive. Really glad you could join us today because we're not just, scratching the surface of the local news feed. Nope. We're going deep. We're pulling back the curtain on the weekly police reports from Antigo Police Department, that's Antigo, and the Langlade County Sheriff. Think of it like this. We're grabbing coffee, spilling the real local tea, all those wild, weird, sometimes funny, sometimes serious small town moments, the stuff that really tells you what's going on in Antigo and Langlade County.
Exactly. And these reports, they give you such a unique window, sometimes a really surprising one, into what daily life is actually like around here. They're more than just logs, they're kind of a social snapshot. And for this dive, we're digging into incidents from, August 10th through August 19th. So a pretty solid week and a half of local happenings. Our mission really is to pull out those key bits of info, the interesting patterns, so you get the real story of what's happening in your own backyard.
Okay, let's dive in. First up, we're calling this section the Quirks and Community Canvas. These are those incidents that are maybe a little odd or kind of funny or just really show that community spirit, make you nod or maybe chuckle. And when you know it, the very first one feels very, very Antigo. So August 10th, right here in town, an officer chats with someone selling potatoes on Superior Street. And the issue, turns out, you need a direct seller's permit from the city. Talk about a local entrepreneur hitting a snag with bureaucracy. You never know what permits you need until you're, selling spuds on the street. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many others might run into this? Is it something the city needs to maybe communicate a bit better?
That's a really good point. It seems small, but it pops up a lot in smaller communities. I mean, the city has rules, often for good reasons like safety or fairness to shops. But getting that info out to, say, a casual seller or someone new, that can be tricky. Often it takes an officer stopping by just like this for someone to even realize.
Right. And speaking of minor headaches, also on August 10th, a parking complaint. This one came from Aspirus Langlade Hospital. Seems a Jeep was taking up two urgent care parking spots. We've all seen that driver, haven't we? Some things are universal, even in Antigo. Is something like that handled differently here versus a big city, or is it just a quick, hey, move it?
Well, often it's pretty similar, really. Usually a warning, maybe a ticket if it keeps happening. But, in a smaller town like Antigo, there can be a bit more of a personal touch sometimes. It's possible the officer might even know the driver, or at least the car. That can lead to a direct conversation that you just wouldn't get in a huge city parking lot. More community policing, perhaps.
Okay, so from parking woes to something much nicer, something that really shows that community fabric we talked about. There's actually a nice little theme here of people doing the right thing. On August 11th, someone found a lost phone near Strasser Roller, that's over by Edison Street and 6th Avenue, and they turned it in. Simple as that.
It might seem like a small detail, but yeah, these found property reports, they actually say a lot. In some places, that phone might just vanish. But here, you consistently see reports of things being turned in. It suggests a level of honesty, of community trust, and honestly, it frees up officers from chasing down petty thefts. It's a quiet thing, but important.
And that feeling of looking out for each other, it definitely includes animals. Just a bit later on that same day, August 11th, we saw some real good Samaritans step up. A citizen found two stray dogs near 2nd and Virginia Street. One was a black lab mix, the other a multicolored mutt. And they didn't just call it in. They took the dogs straight to the Humane Society. That's neighborly spirit right there, especially for our furry friends. Now, here's where things get a little wilder. You don't hear this every week. A call for help with bats. On August 12th, over on Dorr Street, someone called at 3 then in the morning needing help with bats inside their house. That's certainly not your average police call, is it? Shows the sheer range of things officers deal with.
Oh, absolutely. It's a perfect example of how unpredictable policing can be.
Yeah.
Maybe even more so in places like Langlade County, where wildlife encounters are just, more common. Officers are often the first call for almost anything,
Yeah.
From a family argument to, yes, a bat in the house.
Yeah.
Really highlights their versatility.
Definitely. And speaking of wildlife, but maybe slightly larger, let's talk about the cows. For a moment, that just screams rural Langlade County. On August 18th, we had cows on the loose. A report came in about a brown cow had a collar on, just lying in the westbound lane of County Road C at Getz Road. And there was another one, black and white, out too. Thankfully, they found the owner, got the cow secured. That image, though cows blocking traffic, it really does feel like pure Langlade County, right?
It absolutely does. The Cows on the Loose report, it's almost like an annual event in the county, especially in spring. Or after a storm, maybe a fence gives way, a gate's left open, and suddenly our sheriff's deputies are playing cowboy trying to wrangle livestock off the road. It's just part of the fabric of life here, that mix of rural living and law enforcement. Anyone in a farming area gets it.
From loose cows to bat calls in the middle of the night. Clearly, life here keeps officers busy with the unexpected, but it's not always about animals. Sometimes the drama is very human. Which brings us to our next section, stirring the local pot. Peculiar people and petty patrols. These are the incidents that are maybe a bit more dramatic, could be funny, or just the kind of thing people might chat about. So, first one. August 10th, Dorr Street again in Antigo. The staring neighbor. Our resident calls because someone is just staring at her. From a neighbor's property, officers ended up speaking with the neighbor to relay the message, stop staring. That feels like such a classic small-town tension, doesn't it? That feeling of being watched. What do you make of these? Do these little things often blow up into bigger issues?
That's a really important question.
Yeah.
Because yes, they absolutely can. These seemingly minor things, staring, loud music, property line squabbles, they're often the first sign of a bigger neighbor dispute brewing. Police spend a surprising amount of time acting as, well, mediators for these quality-of-life things, because what starts as staring can escalate. Harassment, maybe property damage down the line. So getting involved early, even if it seems small, can actually prevent bigger problems.
That's a great point. It shows how much police work is actually about prevention, about just keeping the peace on a small scale. Okay, and speaking of things maybe not being what they first seem, August 11th, over at the Rainbow Laundry on 5th Avenue in Antigo. A disorderly conduct report. Someone driving a black CRV allegedly flashed something at the person who called. Now, someone was taken into custody initially, but later released, no charges filed. It really highlights how tricky it can be for officers, right? Figuring out what actually happened.
It absolutely does. There's often a gap between that first call, that initial report, and what the officers find when they investigate. Some might perceive something as a crime, but maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe there's just no evidence, or maybe it doesn't legally meet the definition of a crime. It shows the layers involved. It's not always straightforward. Determining the truth on the spot is tough.
Yeah, definitely not always clear cut. Okay, moving on. August 16th in Antigo. We're calling this one the golf cart gamble. Traffic stop. Golf cart. Intersection of Langlade Street and 7th Avenue. Driver gets told, hey, golf carts. Not allowed on city streets. You can just picture someone thinking they found a fun loophole or a shortcut, that the locals know those rules well. Do you think this points to a wider confusion about what you can drive where?
You know, it might. We see it sometimes, not just golf carts, but maybe unregistered dirt bikes, things like that.
Yeah.
People try to find easier ways to get around, sure. But it's a real safety issue, especially on busier streets like Langlade or 7th. There's often a gap between what folks think is okay and what the actual traffic laws say. So these stops, they're partly educational, but really important for safety.
Makes sense. All right, here's a timeless classic. Roommate drama, August 18th, Superior Street in Antigo. Tenant versus subleaser squabble. Someone subleasing calls because the main tenant keeps going into their room and rearranging their stuff. Oh, boundary issues. So universal. But in a small town where everyone kind of knows everyone, do these things play out differently?
They certainly can be trickier. Because, yeah, chances are the tenant and subleaser know people in common, maybe work together, have mutual friends. It adds this whole other layer of social pressure, makes mediation harder. Officers usually try to calm things down, explain it's a civil matter, suggest maybe talking to the landlord or seeking legal advice if needed. Their main job isn't settling lease disputes, it's preventing things from turning criminal. But the feelings involved in a small town can run deep.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, heading out to the county again. Langlade County, August 14th. Disorderly conduct on State Road 47. Yelling neighbors. Just yelling.
At each other.
Across their property lines. Quintessential neighbor dispute, right?
It really is. And it's fascinating how often these things seem to start small and just build and build. Property lines, pets, noise. It highlights those everyday frictions that could just boil over when you live close to people. It's a constant reminder of the human element that officers deal with daily.
Absolutely. And one more for this section. August 15th, Lake Street. We're calling this the confrontational companion. An intoxicated man, he has a large dog with him. He's asked to leave somewhere and he gets confrontational. Sounds like a difficult situation.
Definitely. Anytime you have someone intoxicated, it's unpredictable. Add a large animal to the mix. And it really increases the potential risks for the officers, for the public, even for the animal itself. De-escalation is key in those moments. Trying to calm the person down, ensure everyone's safety. It requires real skill and careful handling.
Right.
Okay, let's shift gears now. We're moving into the highway and hard truths. These are some of the more serious incidents reported. Still public info, but the kind of calls that keep law enforcement particularly busy, especially out on the roads. First up, August 14th, Langlade County. A traffic complaint about the speeding plumber. Someone called about a white van, said complete plumbing on the side, allegedly passing in no passing zones, doing about 80 miles per hour on State Road 64 near Polar Road. Wow, that plumber must have been in a serious hurry. Definitely the kind of thing people notice and talk about.
Oh, for sure. And driving like that, especially on rural roads like 64, well, it's not just speeding. It's incredibly dangerous. Higher speeds, blind corners, potential for deer or other wildlife. It's a recipe for disaster. Citizen calls reporting aggressive driving like this. They're actually really important for deputies trying to keep the roads safe. Helps them spot problem areas or repeat offenders. Back in Antigo now, August 11th. Pole position problems on Claremont Street. A truck hit a telephone pole. Simple as that sounds, but the driver was taken into custody for a first offense OWI. Operating while intoxicated, impaired driving.
Yeah, and that's just a stark reminder, isn't it? The real dangers of drinking and driving, even on streets we drive every day, like Claremont. One mistake can have huge consequences. It hits infrastructure, like the pole, puts the driver and others at risk. It really underscores why OWI enforcement is such a crucial part of police work everywhere.
And out in the county again, August 16th, a serious ATV accident. 2 people were injured. This was on County Road T at West Elcho Road. That's LCO Road. Recreation turning serious in an instant. Must be a sobering call for the deputies out there. Is this common given all the trails?
Unfortunately, yes, it is more common than we'd like. Langlade County has miles and miles of ATV and UTV trails. It's a huge draw for recreation. But with that comes the risk of accidents. Deputies respond to quite a few of these, especially in the summer and fall. It really highlights the specific risks tied to this popular activity here and the need for riders to be safe and careful.
And another really dramatic scene, also August 16th in Langley County, the upside-down truck. Single vehicle rollover. A black Ford F-250 happened on Braun Lane at County Road DD. The truck was found on its roof about 50 yards off the road. Just picturing that tells you it was a very serious crash. Really points to the dangers on some of these rural roads.
Then there's this mystery out in Langlade County, August 17th. Someone reports a suspicious vehicle near the UTV trail on Sherry Road. It's a gray Chevy Colorado. It's unoccupied, but the airbags have gone off. Empty car, deployed airbags. Exactly. That's what's so intriguing, right? The mystery of it. Did the driver crash and just walk away? Was it maybe stolen and dumped? Or was there a medical issue? These kinds of reports often leave you with more questions than answers initially. It definitely sparks curiosity in the community, and for law enforcement, it means digging deeper to figure out the whole story. It can be quite a puzzle.
Okay, another animal incident, but this one has a sharper edge. August 16th, Bluebell Road. Aggressive dog and hostile owner. Report says a runner is bitten by a dog. When the runner confronted the owner got hostile. That definitely takes it beyond a simple loose dog call. Sounds concerning.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
Anytime there's an actual bite involved and then you add a hostile owner into the situation, it becomes a high priority call. There's immediate safety risk. Officers have to manage the animal, deal with an uncooperative person, maybe get medical involved for the victim. It's a volatile mix that needs careful handling.
Right. And one last one for this section. August 19th, Langlade County again. A report about a suspicious car on Star Neva Road. Small white Chevy Cruze. The caller said there was a man inside who looked like he was passed out at the wheel.
Yeah, and that kind of call immediately raises concerns about welfare.
Yeah.
Is the person having a medical emergency? Are they intoxicated? Maybe just asleep? But the key thing is community vigilance. Someone saw something that didn't look right and called it in. That quick action by a citizen can be absolutely critical in getting help to someone who might need it or preventing something worse from happening. It's that looking out for each other thing again.
So if we try to pull all these threads together, looking at the whole week, basically, these reports, they really do paint a vivid picture, don't they? It's a mix of everyday life, strange little moments, and some pretty serious stuff. So what does it all mean for us, living and working here in Antigo and Langlade County? What patterns are bubbling up? What's the pulse of the community based on this snapshot?
Well, you definitely see some clear themes recurring, themes that feel very specific to this area. First, like we talked about, the sheer number of animal-related calls, wandering cows, stray dogs, bites, even bats. It's a constant reminder of our rural and semi-rural setting. Second, traffic issues are always present. You've got everything from that speeding plumber and the OWI crashes to things like the golf cart trying its luck on city streets. Road safety is clearly a big, ongoing challenge with the mix of roads and recreational vehicles. Then there's the persistence of neighbor disputes and those civil complaints. It shows just how much police time goes into, managing everyday human friction and community tensions. And finally, you really see that blend. The serious incidents, accidents, impaired driving right alongside the quirky, the community-focused calls, like the lost phone or the Good Samaritans with the dogs. Taken together, these reports really capture the unique character, the challenges, and just the day-to-day rhythm of life here, both in Antigo itself and across the wider Langlade County area.
That makes a lot of sense. Which brings us nicely to our moral of the week. Just a little something to think about until we dive deep again next time. What have you got for us?
Okay, well, looking back at this week, it really shows that life here is this rich mix, doesn't it? The totally expected and the truly unexpected, the tough stuff and the heartwarming moments. So I think the moral of the week is this. We absolutely rely on and appreciate our local police and sheriff's deputies for handling everything from bats in the attic to cows on the highway, plus all the serious calls. But maybe we can all play our part too. Keep an eye on your permits if you're selling spuds. Keep track of your pets. And maybe, just maybe, think about getting some good curtains if you find yourself staring at the neighbors a lot. Because here in Antigo and Langlade County, you truly never know what's around the corner or what interesting story might be unfolding right next door. The unexpected is kind of the norm.
Good advice. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that's our deep dive for this week. Thanks so much for joining us as we explored the heart of Antigo and Langlade County through these reports. We'll catch you next time for more local insights and unfiltered stories.